Hey everyone, it's Kristin Thompson, and we are back for a super rockin' bonus episode of the Highly Visible Entrepreneur Series. I am here with someone who I consider a friend. She's an amazing speaker. She's been a client come to the Rise. We refer each other clients because we love each other, because we're each experts in completely different things that complement one another, which goes back to our conversation earlier today about collaboration. So please, in the comments with your thumbs up and your yays, give a big welcome to Suzanne Doyle Ingram. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Talk about my favorite thing, books.
I know. And you are just one of my favorite people. We were talking earlier today with Michelle Schaefer, who I think you know. If not, you'll get to know her at the Rise. We were talking about the importance of collaboration and how you do business with people, but you often also become friends with them in the process of whether you're promoting each other or you hire each other, all the different ways that we play with each other. And you're just one of those people that whenever I think of you, I do this, I smile, because you're such a sweetheart. And I'm so excited to share you with everybody today, because writing a book really in a way should be on everybody's mind, at least as something to consider. Yes?
Yes. Especially if you're a business person and you want clients.
Yes, I love it. And hello to Madeline, Susan, Terry. I don't know if I can see everybody, but hello. Thank you to everybody giving us loves and thumbs up. If you're feeling really generous, you can share this to someone who you think might benefit from the content. We're going to be talking about how to write a book to market your business, even if you don't feel like you're a writer. And that's going to be my first kind of real dig-in question that we'll hold off for 1 second, just because I want you to have a moment to just introduce yourself. Like, how do you work with clients? How do you help people around this theme of writing a book?
Okay, thank you. Great. Oh, so much to say. And we got to cram it in 30 minutes.
I know. We're going to be talking fast.
We both talk really fast. So I help business people and entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants write a book that they can use as a marketing tool for their business. And I always say to people, it's not about the book sales. So my philosophy is a little bit different than the whole entire publishing industry, because I always say, if you can use your book to get one new client, and if you know the value of one client, like maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $10,000, then I spend 40 hours a week trying to sell books to make $37. The money's not in the book sales. It's really about in the book. And so everything that I've learned from so many of the speakers that you've had on this series have made such great points. And even everything you teach about a talk is the same stuff that you can put in the book. So it all overlaps. If someone's gone through your program, they can literally use everything they've done in your program and put it into a book. It's so easy.
Yes, they really do. They play really well together, and we'll continue to talk about this at rapid fire here in our 30-minute laser session. But having a book helps you get speaking gigs, and then speaking and giving a talk can help you write a book. Like they're kind of like different sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So let's say someone is watching right now. They might be live with us. They may be watching the replay later, and it sort of sounds like a fun idea, but they don't necessarily consider themselves a writer. What would you say to that person?
I would tell them that I've helped 700 non-writers write a book. Actually, more than 700 now. So everyone I work with is not a writer. They're chiropractors and coaches and realtors and consultants. And I see in the comments here, I don't know, I can't see the comments, but I can see Debbie Battler, I think, is here, and Robin. Both of them have been through my programs and written books. I love, people come to me and they're like, well, I think I might want a book, but I have no idea what to write it on. I'm not a writer. And I say, okay, first of all, editors are on this planet for a reason. So you don't have to be a perfect writer. You just hire an editor. Don't worry about that. And, the key is to think about what you want to say in the book. And I always tell people, this might be offensive to people, but your book's not about you.
What? Similarly, your talk is also not about you.
I know, right? It's the same thing. If you get on stage or you write a book, it's like, I'd like to tell you about myself. And you talk for 45 minutes about yourself. It's not just gonna. So always think about the reader and what's in it for the reader. That's one of my biggest tips that I can give you.
I love that. So there is a process where you can get support to write a book. You don't necessarily have to be a writer. Editing, and nobody writes a book in a draft, just like nobody writes a song in one draft and nobody crafts a speech in one draft. It's a process of kind of like a recipe where, you keep stirring and it gets better and better, and you season it a little and then it gets even better, and you add that last dash of salt and you're like, bam, it's perfect, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. So what are the ways that someone watching should be thinking about, like, how would they use their book to help their business?
Oh, that's great. That's funny. I'm writing a book right now called 27 Ways to Use Your Book as a Marketing Tool.
Bam! There we go.
That's my summer project. Okay, so there's very, very simple and free things that people can do. And so I always say, do the free things first. So for example, after you have a book, make sure you update your LinkedIn profile that says you're the published author of such and such book. Make sure you update all your profiles online, your Facebook. Sometimes I go to people's website and I go, hi, why don't you mention your book on your website?
Yes.
Right? And any print materials that you print, whether you're doing postcards or you have a presentation folder, like even the trifolds that you do, Kristin, have a little image of your book cover. Just that visual proof of your book cover can mean so much. And it really can make the difference between somebody hiring you and hiring a competitor, because they think, oh, you're a published author, that's kind of a big deal. And then obviously update your media kit and your one sheet and all that stuff to say that you're a published author and the name of the book. You can also, another way to use your book is to take quotes out of your book. Maybe take 52 quotes out of your book, get somebody on Fiverr or your VA to make these little picture quotes, do one a week for a whole year. That's like a year's worth of content. And you just put the quote and then your name and the book title. So anybody that sees that, whether they're on Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook, they can go to Amazon and they can find your book. Another thing is make sure your author page is updated properly on Amazon, and just go to author.amazon.com, and it's free to do, but most people don't know about it. It's easy to do. So there's tons of things you can do with your book, and most of it really is about positioning you as an expert. Even if you don't feel like an expert, people will think that you are because you have a book.
Yes, and I know with my clients, some of the things I see are people using their book as like a bonus if someone buys their course at the back of the room. I've seen people have it as like a downsell. So they're selling their course or their workshop or whatever it is their main offer is, if they're able to make an offer from the stage, but they have their books out on the table. And what we find is people who are just a hard no on buying your course often will buy your book. And it really serves as like a follow-up sometimes for that person who's not quite ready to work with you, or an add-on or gift to the people who are ready to work with you. And then I remember being at an eWomen's network. This was going back a kind of a chunk of years ago. And I'm going to blank because I'm on live. The guy who runs the woman who runs the eWomen network. I'm picturing her,
Sandra Yancey? You mean the head one?
Yeah, Sandra Yancey.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing her face. I'm seeing the sand. That's all my brain could come up with. But she said to me, you don't have a book. You need a book. Like, you can get some great speaking engagements just for having a book and having an event say, well, we'll purchase, a book for every attendee, and that's your quote unquote speaker's fee. And for very large events, that can be a lot of money. Have you seen that working for people who are out speaking as well? Different tips like that, like using it as an add-on or an incentive for an event to have you out?
Absolutely. The two ways that you just said are awesome. And I want to add on a little bit to that, just so it's really clear. So when you are using your book as a downsell or selling it in the back of the room, obviously it has to be a paperback book. Don't try to sell the PDF of your book, because it's not valued anymore. PDFs just get lost on people's hard drives. So make sure it's paperback. Also, you may not know this. I mean, your listeners and viewers might not know this, but publishing now is very different because almost everybody uses print on demand. So you can buy copies of your book for like usually ridiculous amount, like $3.14. And then you sell them for $20. So you're making a pretty good profit on each book that you sell. Also, let's say I'm coming to your event and I want to bring books. I just go online and I ship my books to your event. I don't have to schlep them around the country in my suitcase. So you can do that ahead of time. And then what you should do is anytime you're writing a book, you have to have a call to action in the book, which goes against traditional publishing, which is what I love about self-publishing or using a hybrid like me, is that in the book, let's say they only have your book and that's their only little taste of you. You say to them, I've created a little free video series that shows you how to do X, Y, Z. Click here or go here. Obviously, they can't click in the book. And then you get their email address and you can follow up with them and they get a little bit more of you. Then instead of just reading your stuff, then they see you and then they fall in love with you and then they want to go work with you.
I love this. So I'm going to just recap because that was like a lot of a big tip that I don't want anybody to miss. So let's say you are you're speaking and you sell your course or your workshop, but a bunch of people buy your book. It should be a paperback book. We want it in person. By the way, it looks great when you have paperback books all on your table at the back of the room. It is really authority building and super fun. It also gives you something to hand people who buy your course or your workshop, by the way. That'll help you hold sales. We talk a lot about that at the Rise Live event about it's not just about selling people into your course or program at the end of your talk, but keeping that sale. Well, one way to do that is if you hand the person something when they say yes, that automatically warms them up and it'll hold them into your kind of like the swirl that they were in during your talk. Okay, so now they have your book, and then the bonus to the book that they purchased or got with your course or workshop would have like a little mini series is what you're saying, like some short little videos that they could get as a bonus for buying your book, which then does what? Circles them back around into your funnel. Now you can do a webinar or a strategy session and upsell them from there, right?
Exactly. Because they might not be ready to buy right away. They may have just found out about you, and people get a little nervous with that because they don't really know who you are exactly. So you want to give them a little bit more of a taste of you.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I always say, you're speaking and selling to the people who are ready. Based on your talk and where they're at in their life or business, they're ready to make a change, but not everybody is exactly ready all at the same time. And so it's great when we can be kind of hands off and no pressure, and that little downsell can help. Now, you're not going to get rich probably selling $20 books at the back of the room, which is why you want to have a course or a product. But what a great downsell to swoop people back into your course or workshop when they're ready. And then the other thing is it covers your costs of like printing and flight and all these other things that you might have associated with an event. So I always remind people, don't knock the $20 and $30 sales. They are a great way to get paying leads into your business and to pay for things like your administrative assistant or your travel or whatever else you're spending money on, right?
And bring along a little sign-up sheet just in case you sell out of books. You don't just turn people away. You want to say, hey, listen, I will ship you a book, get their name and their mailing address, and take their money.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. I always say, we talk about this at the Rise when we talk about closing the room. Be ready for people to say yes.
Yeah.
That's the tip that you just gave. So thank you. And Susan, I've got the comment up on the screen is saying, excellent tips, Suzanne.
Well, thank you, Susan.
Are excellent. But that was a really great point, is always have an order form so that if you run out of the physical version of something, you can still sign people up. You can go home, ship them their little books directly to them, off to the races you go. So any tips on getting started? Let's say we're starting to pique somebody. Well, let me ask another question first. Sorry, I get too excited. So let's say we've gotten someone excited, because clearly I'm getting excited about writing a book. What are some of the mistakes that would derail? And if I may share one that I think I see happen in the industry, not necessarily with books, but big projects, is sometimes people get so into like trying to do this creative project all at once that they derail their business. Right. So let's say they're rebranding their website or they want to write a book or something. And then they're like, well, I can't do blah. I'm writing my book. And suddenly they're almost like stopping their whole business to do this creative activity. And I am so sure that that is not what you recommend. So how can somebody kind of get on track without getting derailed? And what are some common missteps that we want to avoid in the process?
Okay, great. Thank you for asking that. Yes, the worst thing that people can do is say, I'm writing a book, and then sit down in front of a blank screen and wait for this divine download to happen, because it doesn't really work that way. So I talk about it's like building a house, and you have to build a foundation first, and then you can add the drapes and the sofa and everything, but that comes later. So there's a few things you need to do. One is know who you're writing it for. So know who your target audience is. Who is your ideal client? Your friends and family are not your ideal client. I was just talking to my group this morning about that. I was like, if 1,000 people buy your book, which would be very good, by the way, you don't know 990 of them right now. You don't know who they are right now. They're out there, they're circling around, they're like these invisible bubbles floating around you right now. So don't worry if your friends and family don't snap it up and start chatting about it everywhere, because people get disappointed with that. So think about your ideal client. What is it that, and I'm sure other people on your series have said this, what keeps them up at night? What is it that you need to share with them that will position you as someone who knows just a little bit more than them in your area of expertise? And there's a few different books that you can write, but one of the simplest things to do is to write like a tips book, such as the one I'm writing right now. I mean, I've written and co-written 15 books, but the one I'm doing now is very simple tips book. When I said 27 ways to use your book as a marketing tool, I literally wrote a list of 27 things, and then I wrote on each one what it is, why it matters, how to do it. So if somebody wants to write a really long, like research-based book, they can do that later. Let that be your complicated book. But if you just want a book now, write a simple tips book. And so what you would do is you would start with the outline. Once you know who you're writing it for, and I also say, figure out why you're writing a book. It's really important to know your why, because when doubt creeps in later, you got to go back. Okay, this little negative Nelly that sits on your shoulder, she will say to you, what do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are? No one's going to read this. And then you have to, pull yourself back up again and go, okay, I'm writing this book for all those people who I know it will help, and I have a message and I need to get it out there. So then start on your outline. And your outline is just like the same one that we all did in 11th grade English class. You make your list of points, and then you make sub-points underneath all of them. And I go way into this in my regular training. And but just to help people understand, the outline is the most important thing. And everybody who goes through my training, they literally say, it's so easy to write your book once you have this done. It's so hard to do it without an outline. And think about the reader's journey. So the reader, they're investing their time in you reading this book, and you need to carefully guide them through the book. So your book can't be like all over the place and confusing. It needs to make sense to the reader. So once you have your outline done, then you start writing your book, and only then are you allowed to think about a title and a cover and images and all the rest of it.
I love this, and I'm not surprised, but I guess I sort of am. But it's crazy how similar this is to writing a talk, in that I tell people, don't sit down and write out a talk. Like, that's not how you build a talk. That's not how you write a book. And that's what gets people stuck. And then it's like it takes a year, to get this thing out that doesn't have to take that long. The outline, or in my case, it would be like the talk structure that we start to kind of wireframe out in bullets and outline format. That structure is really what's key and allows you to organize your thoughts. So then the writing of it, or the delivering of it in a talk, is actually quite quick. It's why we can craft a talk in really under 30 days. I mean, if I spent a day with somebody, it would be done in a day. For you, like, what are you seeing with your clients in terms of, if I wanted to get a book out there, is that a year or 2 year project, or how does that work for you?
Well, that's the thing. I'm glad you asked that. So I have a program that's a 6-month program. It's like kind of for normal working people, because like you said earlier, you cannot put your business on hold. So if you want to take 6 months to write a book, that's very reasonable. But I do have people have done it in 30 days in my 30-day program. And that's just a quick book. I mean, it's super quick. And I always say everything you need is already inside of you. Okay. And so you don't have to go to outside sources for your book. You know all your stuff already. You know it all. And I love what you just said about the talk, because one thing I wanted to mention is that if someone has gone through your program and they have a signature talk and they have the outline for that, they can literally write the exact same thing as their book. And people always say, oh, well, then wouldn't that be weird if someone listened to my talk and then they bought a book and it was the same? I mean, not word for word, but it was the same thing. No, it's not weird, because they don't memorize your talk. They can't retain it. They get a few juicy bits and they want more. So to have your book, it's just a way of repurposing. I'm not reinventing the wheel. And then they can even create a course around it, and still they worry that, oh, but it's the same stuff. Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a side interest in cryptocurrency. It's something that I really find interesting, and it's really hard for me to understand. It's not my natural brain space. So there is a book that I'm reading right now from someone who's really famous in that space. And what did I do? I also signed up for his course based on his book. Why?
Yeah.
Well, I read the book, but it's not like, well, I got that figured out. Just like if you read a book on flying a plane, I mean, God help you if you go get in a plane and try to fly one. It's not at all the same thing. So I just want to reemphasize what you're saying is so, so true. It's a different experience and a different depth of learning when you read a book versus mentor with someone personally versus go through an online course. Those are all very valuable. But the depth of learning is different in each of those, right?
Yes, exactly.
I love this. So basically what we're saying is come to the Rise, get your talk squared away, turn your talk into a book with Suzanne's program, use the book to help you get the speaking gigs, go give the talk, then people buy your book, it circles back into your business, right? It's a whole little living organism.
They just need us. We got it all figured out.
Everybody, fire everyone else in your life. We are here. It really is amazing. So we have a good question from Madeline. I'm going to pop it up on the screen so everyone can see it. And the question is, what are the pros and cons of self-publishing versus traditional publishing, and what do you recommend?
Hi, Madeline. Thank you so much. I know Madeline. That's awesome.
Yay. Hi, Madeline. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, this is great. Let's see if I can answer it in under 2 minutes. So consider people, okay, imagine a horizontal line. And on one end of the line, you've got traditional publishing. Other end of the line, you've got self-publishing. So self-publishing has come a long, long way, by the way. It used to be like stapled pieces of paper together. It looked terrible, right? I'll talk about that in a second. Traditional publishing is great if you want that credibility of being published by Penguin or something like that. But it takes years and years and years. It's really, really hard to get published traditionally. You need an agent, and no, I'm sorry, I can't connect you with one. And it's very, very different because they still really don't do any marketing for you. So you still have to do the marketing, and it's not to sound offensive, but it's kind of ego based because it's just because you want one of the big guys to publish your book for you. And so it's good for credibility. Self-publishing, on the other hand, has come so far that people, if you do it correctly and you hire like a professional editor and you hire a typesetter and a cover designer, nobody will even know that it's self-published.
No.
Anytime you buy a book, like if you look at the books you have in your house right now, without opening them, I challenge you to tell me who the publisher is.
Yes.
You know, people who are writing books are always concerned about that, but no one knows who the publisher is.
No, and there's a lot of, it's kind of like the music industry, which went through a real revolution. My husband is in technology, but he works for a company called CD Baby, and they do music distribution for unsigned artists. And so Macklemore, who's a really famous rapper, came off of the CD Baby platform. He's basically a self-published, I guess you would say, whatever, artist. And I feel like the same thing has happened with books. And I know just a tiny bit, this is obviously not my area of expertise, but you know, nowadays they want you to have massive audiences and massive followings, and kind of like the music industry, they almost enslave you into a situation where you're not making a ton of money, but you're doing a ton of self-promotion. And a lot of really big names in the book industry now self-publish because they can control so much more of the marketing and where you show up and all the tips that we've been sharing on this series, including and especially, I would say, Christina Daves with her publicity. If you paired speaking and publicity and your book together, you won't need a publisher, and you'll actually probably kick some booty over what a publisher would do for you.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a great point. I had someone come to me once that said, okay, I'm working on my second book. My first book was fine and dandy, whatever, but now I want a traditional publisher. And through the conversation, I realized she had 1.5 million followers on Facebook. So I said, okay, we can work with that. Yeah. So we did a relaunch. We sold a bunch of books only because she had 1.5 million fans on her Facebook page. Yeah. And then she was able to go to a traditional publisher and say, here's what I've got for you. I have 1.5 million fans, and I've sold this many books and that kind of thing. But I think she was still kind of disappointed that they didn't really do anything for her. Yeah. So, what else was I going to say about self-publishing? Yeah. So, Madeline, I think it's important to always think about the reader. So, if I have a message and I want to get it into my reader's hands, so it changes their lives, is the reader going to go, well, you know what? I'm not sure if this book is for me because I don't know if I like this publisher or not. It's like, doesn't matter. Just get the book out there. As long as
I never read books with this publisher.
Yeah.
That's never happened.
Yeah, it's like TDC or something, and that's not real. I'm making it up. But it's like they don't care who published your book. Similar to people who freak out over fonts. I'm like, do you think your reader cares what this font is? Perpetual?
Because it's readable. Yeah, who cares?
But that
crazy.
comes from a place of fear where people are afraid to get it out there, and I totally understand that.
Yeah. No, we want, like, I'm guessing, a really great title, much like a talk. It's like the hook and the premise is really what gets people excited to read your book. So I'm keeping an eye on the clock. We're ripping and rocking, and you've answered to so many amazing questions. We talked a little bit about like why the book, ways of using the book. We talked about how you could spin this into your business, how it really plays an important role in creating sales, but also nurturing leads and helping them kind of stay back in the fold. It can help you get speaking gigs. We talked about some of the problems people are facing. Don't start with a blank page. So this brings us to, in the last kind of 5 minutes here, if someone wants to start getting started on the process, what would be like a great first step or two?
Okay. Yeah. What happens a lot of times is people have a hard time narrowing it down to one book because they think, oh, I could talk about this. For me, I could talk about so many different aspects of writing a book. So I think what you might want to look at is, what do you want more of in your business? So I have this funny story about a realtor that came to me and said, I want to write a book for first-time home buyers. And I was working with her one-on-one. We did kind of like a VIP day that you do. And we did the whole outline for working with first-time home buyers. And I said to her, tell me what you love about working with first-time home buyers. She goes, oh, I hate working with first-time home buyers.
Oh, no.
I go, why are we writing a book about this? And she said, oh, I thought it would be easy. And I'm like, okay, I need to reiterate.
Not a good thing to
more of. So even for me, I'm hesitating doing a book on marketing your book because I don't really want people coming to me saying, I want to hire you to market my book. So it would be ideal to, let's say you help people with LinkedIn, then your book should be about how to, use LinkedIn and to grow your business or something. And then you can just have, here's 10 things you need to do. And then for each one of those 10 things, you write 10 pages. Next thing you know, you have 100 pages. You could do that in a month or two. And then when you shrink that down, like 100 manuscript pages, shrunken down to a 6x9 book is about 120 or 130 pages, which is fine. Because people always get so concerned. Suzanne, how many pages do I need? And I'm like, okay, there's no magic number. And nowadays, people don't have a lot of time. If you hand someone a book that's 300 pages, you know what they go? They think, I'm never going to have time to read that whole thing. It's actually a gift to have a smaller book nowadays.
I love that. So it kind of reminds me, because this is apparently the theme of this broadcast, of writing a talk, in that, we start, it's really step 2 of the Rock Your Talk system, which is crafting your signature system. So the way we talk about that. And so those of you who are coming to the Rise, by the way, like this is going to be a real 1-2 Socceroonie for you, meaning the work that we do at the Rise to get your talk ready, you'll basically just be able to transition into your book with Suzanne if that's the way you choose to go, which I would definitely recommend it. It would be massive momentum for your business and be really focused and streamlined, and the theme of everything would connect. But basically you're looking like right in the core of what you do, right? Like what is the thing? Like for me, it's helping people rock their talk. Like I can teach people lots of other little doodads, but that's the core of what I do. That's what I get invited to speak on stages on. That's the number one reason people hire me. So you want to zero into the core of your expertise. And then just like Suzanne was saying, figure out, okay, well, what are the key kind of pillars that I have to teach somebody to get them from the problem of not understanding this topic to feeling like they have a good handle on it. And in there, you end up with your main points of your system. And in your case, they would end up being probably chapters or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because earlier I just sort of quickly said, oh, there's many different ways of writing a book. And I just mentioned the tips book, but the system book is another thing that I teach too. And it's just like what you teach. What is your system to help your client go from A to Z or Z, and they need 5 steps or 7 steps or 3 steps or whatever it is. And it might be an acronym that's like Shine or Thrive or something like that. And I say to people, don't hesitate to create your own language around it. And I don't mean like words that don't make any sense, but this morning I was talking to my students and I was saying people like Brian Tracy and Tony Robbins, they all kind of teach a lot of the same stuff, but it's different language. It's you don't have to like reinvent everything. You know, you can teach what you teach with a framework. And I think Robin Levesque is on here. And he did that when he was writing his book, and he has a system that he teaches in his keynote talks, the same thing is in his book. And it's just so easy to repurpose everything like that.
It is. And again, you know, just a reminder from earlier, don't worry about it crossing over or it layering over. It's not going to be exactly the same. And different people are going to buy your book, then go through your course. And some people are going to want to do both, go through your course and then also underline in your book and all that fun stuff. So different, it's just another medium basically for somebody to deepen their learning with you. And for some people, it'll be the starting place probably. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes they come to me, they write a book, and then they're done their book. And then I help people do online courses, TED Talks, you know, what comes next. That's what I was thinking. You know what? Just get the book done, because all the juicy stuff comes after that, you know, going to you and creating a talk and getting booked as a speaker and just like being brave. It's just about being brave and taking steps one day at a time to get to where you want to go.
I love it. So think about your core topic, your core expertise, start bulleting out, you know, what are the different key things that you would need to teach somebody on? And that's really the first elemental steps. If you go, you have a free gift that you have added to the series, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I have a free training on how to write a book in 30 days.
Boom. Oh my gosh. It's almost like we planned it to be on topic. So remember, those of you who are signed up for the series, that you have access. It's in the bonus area. And so that's accessible through under all of the videos that are already up in the series already. And once this video is done and we're not live anymore, it'll get uploaded by tomorrow morning, and right under it you'll have that link. But there's lots of different ways you can get to the bonuses, and you can find Suzanne's in there all about how to write your book in the next 30 days. So please take today's training, pair it with that free gift, that bonus training that she's offered everybody. So gracious. And you've got a great kickstart. Also know that you will get to meet Miss Suzanne live at the Rise live event. So we're encouraging you, really use your speaking and your book together. So we're going to be helping you in action live at the Rise in October. In the bonus area, you'll see how you can enroll with a really special series discount. If you're one of Suzanne's clients, she may have already spoken to you about attending. So please reach out to her directly as well, so you can come as her guest, because she is a VIP expert and speaker at the event, and you'll get to like hobnob with her in person. And I'm sure she could actually help you. And we'll do this at the Rise, is let her field some questions, so that some of those initial fears or concerns about what your book should be about or how it's going to serve your business, that we can really get those answered for you. And then by the time you leave the event, we hope you'll really be clear on what is your talk, what is your book, and then we'll give you the plan to get out and implement. Implementation is key. Yes, Suzanne?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always say that to people, just get started, just get going. You can always correct things later, but you don't correct anything if you're just standing still. So just move forward, go, go, go. And, you know, it is really great to start with an outline because it'll just barf all over a page. It's not going to be good. And it's also a nightmare to edit later. It'll cost you a fortune in editing. So
and you'll have that problem where it just starts wandering.
Yeah. Like, what's in it for the reader? Always think about your reader.
I love it. I love it. So implementation is key, whether it's this training or any of the others that we've been sharing with you during this series. Don't try to do it all at once. Choose one thing to take action on to move the ball forward. So today it might be as simple as choosing the topic of your talk and your book. Like, what do you really want to zero in on that's going to help you attract ideal clients? Keeping in mind Suzanne's tip, let's not choose something that's easy or whatever. You don't want those kinds of clients. Let's really choose a topic that's going to draw in ideal clients, so that your book and your talk are supporting the growth of your business in the way you want to. Suzanne and I are super pumped to meet you live at the Rise Live event. And Suzanne, I want to thank you so much for being my friend and for coming to the Rise and for sharing so much of your expertise today.
Well, thank you for having me. I always love talking about books.
Yeah, it's fun. It is a great topic, and you are the master at it, as all of you are getting to know, whether you're watching the replay or live. Not only is she wicked smart, but she's a sweetheart. So when you're feeling vulnerable and you're feeling scared, you want a mentor in your corner who can bolster your spirit up, see you as your highest self, and call that forward. And when it comes to books, you know, Suzanne is the go-to girl to help you do that. So please be sure to get that bonus. Connect with her on Facebook and meet her live in person at the Rise. Tomorrow, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday. Okay, tomorrow live at 11:30 a.m. My friend Tamara Thompson. You know Tamara.
Yeah, that was awesome. She's amazing.
Yes, she's a friend of ours. We've both spoken, I think, on her stage at her event, which is Broadcast Your Authority. So tomorrow she's going to be sharing her tips on video, are another really great compliment to everything you're doing, whether you're doing a live like this or you hire her team to do really swanky video. I have done both, I have both experiences. She is phenomenal. You're going to get great tips from Tamara tomorrow about how to broadcast your authority on video. Again, we'll be right here, same place at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. Until then, keep on rocking, implement one thing you learned today, and keep getting visible. Suzanne, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.